Hi guys, today we are going to be trying out a new palette from Game Beauty. If this is a new brand to you, I will make a playlist and put all of the videos that I've done featuring this brand up in the corner because I think they've come out with 3 palettes now and this is their 4th palette. So this is a brand to me that is very exciting, but I have to admit that their other palettes haven't been like my absolute favorites, especially the first one and the second one. The third one was way better and I feel like they really improved their formula. So I'm super interested to see how this palette is going to perform. So this is the Harbinger palette and I think that the color story on this is very unique, and I feel like I can say that about all of their palettes honestly, because every time I see a new palette come out for them, I'm like, that's so interesting. Like I never know exactly like what to expect when they come out with something new, because I feel like they're always thinking outside of the box, and I do appreciate that with brands. I'm super curious, like I said, to see how this palette is going to perform. From the swatches, I'm not sure I'm going to love it, I'll be completely honest, because there are just a couple of kind of mesh shimmers in here that just, they don't really like scream my name, and they're not like, hey, use me, but you know what I mean? We'll test it out on the eyes and see how they perform. There is one shade in here that looks absolutely beautiful, and it's the shade called Dawn, which is this one. I mean, this looks incredible. And I was just on their website and I was looking at the pictures that they have taken, like the promotional pictures and stuff, and I feel like their swatches are a little bit, not misleading, but they've definitely shown the swatches in the best lighting, and I feel like they probably used low lights to show off like the shifts and stuff. I wish that they had just shown swatches in both natural lighting and like artificial and like kind of filter lighting, because I feel like the swatches that I got don't look like the swatches on their website at all. But like I said, we're just gonna test it out. We're gonna play with it on the eyes. We're gonna see how it performs. I'm very excited. I think that, like I said, the color story is so interesting and unique that I feel like we're gonna be able to create something a little bit special today. So we're just gonna jump straight in. I'm going to prime with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base, and I do have a code with Game Beauty. I'll have it on the screen. I think it's just Annette, but if it's something else, it'll be right there. It is affiliated, just so you know. And also, should I address the elephant in the room? Obviously my hair is green now, which it was not last video that you saw of me, but I did hint that I was going to do my hair, and I'm so happy I did, because I don't know, there's something about the fall season that just makes me want to have green hair. I'm just a weirdo, what can I say? But I think it looks really nice, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I did do it myself this time, and I always get questions like, how do you do it? Like, what products do you use and so on? And like I said before, I'm never going to film myself doing my hair because I don't want to give like bad advice, but I'll give you like the lowdown of what I usually do. If I change my color completely, like please don't do what I do, because this is not like the right way to do things, but what I do is I use a color remover. I use the one from Joico, and I obviously mix it with developer, which you're supposed to do with that product. So it is bleach, and then I put it all over my hair, and usually it lifts my roots enough that I can just dye completely over. It does create a little bit of banding just on the top, but like you really can't see it because the colors that I use are so vibrant and so rich that it easily covers whatever little bit of banding or just different color that my roots are compared to the rest of my hair, that it doesn't really matter. So it doesn't turn out like like I wouldn't try to like go blonde that way or anything like that. Like you're obviously supposed to like bleach your roots and then use the color remover on the rest of your hair, but I just slap it all over and it just removes everything and it lifts my roots, and it's great, and then I just dye over. So that's how I do it. But like I said, don't do what I do, because it might not work for you. I can't promise anything, but let's go ahead and go into this palette. So we're gonna see here what it is that I want to do. So I do really want to use the shade because it is beautiful. Not really sure. I definitely want to use the black as well because I can't help myself. I just love black eyeshadow. And I'm thinking maybe, so this blue here is very interesting because on the finger, it's almost like, it's not a shimmer. It feels like a satin, but it looks more like a matte. So I'm thinking maybe I can use it as my crease shade because it's not really that shiny. Like, I don't know. Like, it's so deep and dark and grungy that I really want to have that in my crease, but I also don't know if it's going to be like too satiny. But I think we're going to try it. Worst case, I can blend it out with a little bit of this purple to make it a little more matte, because I don't like having satins or shimmers in my crease because I find that it really makes my eyes look a lot more hooded than they are. So I don't love that, but I'm going to try it because I'm so curious about the shade. And if this works as a matte, I'll excuse it, because otherwise I'm not really a fan of satins. But like I said, if I can use it in my crease, like it'll work fine. So this is the shade called Herald, And let's see how it picks up on a fluffy brush. So it picks up quite nicely. I'm gonna use that, like I said, as my sort of, I don't know if you can call it transition shade, but my crease shade anyway. I feel like a lot of people would probably want to use something a little bit lighter than this, but I'm gonna use this as my crease shade, and we're gonna try see if I can like blend this out and get a nice blend here. But this is definitely like on the eye, I do feel like this is performing a little bit more like a satin, but almost, I don't know. We'll see how it looks when it starts to blend out, but it's very easy to apply, and you can definitely use this with a fluffy brush because it picks up very nicely and it applies very nicely as well. And if you're someone who doesn't like super intense shimmers, or you like to have like satin shades on your lid, this would probably look really nice. But I think I'll be able to get a good blend with this, and if I am, like, I'm gonna be a happy camper because this color is so beautiful. Like, this is a really, really, really pretty shade of blue. I really like this. And then maybe what I can do is I'll use a little bit of the purple shade under my eye just so we can test out more shades here. But this is definitely a satin, I do have to say that. But I think I'll be able to get a good blend. Let's just, I'm just gonna take it slow and we'll just sort of see what happens here and how it turns out. I'm expecting this to sheer out into a bit of a, not a gray, but I think that it has sort of a black base to it, so maybe. But I mean, that's actually looking quite nice. Like, I am not mad at this at all. Okay, you know what? I actually really like that as a crease shade. I think that looks very nice. So here's the thing with like me and satins. Like I said, I don't like satins normally. If they're leaning too much towards being a shimmer, I'm nitpicking right now, but if they lean too much towards being a shimmer, if they're like something between a satin and a shimmer where like I have to use it on my lid because it's so much of a shimmer that I can't really use it in my crease, then I don't like it. But if it's so subtly a satin that I can use it in my crease, I don't mind it. Am I making any sense? Like, I know everyone's gonna be like, but you can use it in your, you can use whatever you want anywhere, but like, I'm just picky, okay? Like, I know my preferences and I know the way that I want my eye looks to come out, and right now I'm liking this. I think this looks very nice. I am going to just, I feel like I pulled this up a little bit too high just right here. I'm just gonna go over the edge a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do with the same brush, I'm gonna go into the black shade here, which is called Doom, which I think is great. So let's see how the black performs. This one swatched very intensely, so I am going to just tap it off a little bit here just to see. So make sure I don't get any kind of fallout. And I don't think I have any fallout with the blue. That's another thing with using like satin shades or shimmers on a sort of fluffy brush, is that you can tend to get a little bit of fallout when you do that. But I'm not really seeing any fallout yet, so that's good. I'm just gonna use this to deepen this up with, and I think this is performing quite nicely. It's not layering the absolute best, like right over where I had that shimmer, but I also wouldn't really expect a matte to layer that nicely over a shimmer. I'm not really sure, or satin, or whatever I should say. Maybe I should have gone in with the black first. It is definitely covering though. It's just, I feel like it's not sticking as well over where I already have a shadow than it is right where I have the eyeshadow primer, which, I mean, it totally makes sense. But it does seem to build quite nicely, and I'm definitely getting like the intensity that I'm looking for here. So I definitely want to use the shimmer that I swatched in the beginning on the rest of my lid. I'm actually gonna take a little bit more of this black and just put it like on my lid as well, because I think layering that other shade over the top of the black is gonna really make it look super cool, because it is a bit of a sheer formula. So I think that just getting a gradient with the black underneath is just gonna layer very nicely. So I like how this is looking. Should I do my lower lash line first? I think we're just gonna do the lid first. So I'm gonna find my glitter primer in my mess in front of me here, which, to be fair, my room is always a mess, so like, what's new? But I'm gonna put some of that on a brush here that just randomly appeared in my hand. I don't even know why I picked this one, but this is what I'm using. This is from BK Beauty. It is number 203. So I'm just gonna take my glitter primer all over where I want my shimmer to go. And this brush is a little bit too big for what I was looking for, but I think I'll be able to make it work still. Speaking of BK Beauty, I actually got a package from them the other day with their new lip products, and I think I'm gonna film a lip swatching video after this. That video might be up before this. I'm not really sure, but that is my plan anyway. So I'm gonna take this shade here called Dawn because it just looks so beautiful. Gonna take that on the sticky side of my brush. I mean, look at that. I'm so excited. I'm just gonna put this all over my lid basically. And then we're gonna do something in the inner corner, probably one of the lighter shimmers. So like I was saying, this is a bit of a sheer formula. It's not as sort of wet looking as I was expecting after swatching it. It's definitely a little bit more, it doesn't look dry on the eyes, but it doesn't look as like smooth as it feels. I know that doesn't make sense if you haven't felt the shadow, but in the pan it just felt extremely like just silky and smooth, and I feel like it doesn't look exactly like I expected on my eye, but it's still a beautiful color. It's just a little bit more subtle than maybe I was expecting, but I feel like this whole palette is a little more subtle formula-wise than I was expecting, not necessarily like color-wise. Obviously there are, you know, deep and intense and grungy colors in here, but I feel like the formulas are a little bit on the softer side. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just something that I would like to point out still. But this is a beautiful color. It looks really, really nice. And I also really like how that satin shade is looking in my crease. I actually think that blended out very nicely. And it also works super well with these other colors here. Yeah, I really do like this look. I think it turns out really nicely. So for under my eye, I am going to use, I do need another brush that is somewhat clean. I'm gonna use the shade called Devour, which is this beautiful, it's not really purple. I mean, it is purple, but it's like a light, it's a dark pastel. I know there's probably a name for that, but I don't know what that would be right now because clearly I'm not good at explaining colors and I never have been and I never claim to be, so I'm just gonna take this all the way underneath my eye here and kind of just smoke it out, but this is applying very nicely. It's sticking nicely under my eye, which is always good. And then for the inner corner, I'm going to take the shade up in the corner here, which is called Lumine, I think is how you say that. I could definitely be wrong on that. I'm going to take that on a pencil brush here, and I am going to spray this a little bit since I don't have any glitter primer or anything in my inner corner. And we're just going to use that as the inner corner highlight. I definitely could have gone with the silver shade as well, but I really wanted to use this because it was so bright. Like the one thing that I will say about the lighter shimmers is that they feel a little dry and they're not super intense. Like they have pigment, but they're a little flat, if you know what I mean when I say that. They're not like super shiny or super sparkly or anything like that. They're definitely more of just a very basic subtle shimmer than like a topper shade or anything like that. And I think it looks nice, but it's definitely not my favorite. Like I feel like this palette is a little, not tame, it's not what I'm trying to say, but it's the shimmer formulas are a little tamer than what I would normally like, but I do really like the color story and I like the theme, and I think that they still did a really good job with this, even though like formula wise it's not my favorite, it's not what I usually go for when I do my makeup, but I think the look turned out beautiful still, and I'm excited to finish off and see how it's going to look. So I think this is all I'm going to do for the eye, so I'm gonna do some liner, mascara, lipstick, all that jazz, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I finished off with not really doing anything exciting at all, but I still think that the look turned out okay. So for my blush today, I'm using one from the Menagerie Arthurine palette. I'm using this one right here, which is the shade called Persimmon. I love this palette. This is such a good palette. They're very, very pigmented. So if you've been looking to pick up this palette, just keep that in mind. They're very pigmented. So if you do not like a pigmented blush, this palette is not for you, but I think that the colors in it are beautiful. Let's see, for my highlighter today, I'm using one from Alien Cosmetics, and this is in the shade Danny or Donnie. I just realized that the names are like, this is the name of the highlighter, and it doesn't say anywhere else, but I think it's really, really nice. I could probably put on a little bit more because I did go over it with the blush after just to tone it down a little bit, and yes, I do have green on my face, but like, that's what happens when you dye your hair green and you do it yourself. You end up with green everywhere. At least I do, because I make a mess. So let's see, what else did I do? I did do some lavender in my waterline, and now I can't find it. It's the one from ColourPop, the one that I use all the time. And then for my lipstick, I'm using the Sephora collection holiday lipstick from last year. Hopefully they'll come out with these again. I love it. This color is just like my perfect nude, and I think it looks great. This is in the shade Not That It Matters. It's in the shade Festive, which is very fitting. So to kind of sum up my thoughts on this palette, I would say that this is not my favorite palette out of the bunch that Game Beauty has come out with. I definitely think that their latest, or the last palette that they came out with, was a little bit better than this formula-wise, but I think this color story is maybe one of the best that they've done. I really like how deep and dark and dramatic it is, and I do like the idea behind this palette. For me, the execution wasn't perfect, but again, this is just personal preference. This is just what I like in my eyeshadows. If you like something that's a little bit more subtle, you're gonna love these shimmers. Like, these shimmers are gonna be great for you. If you like something that doesn't enhance texture, or maybe you have very, I don't know, I would say hooded eyes, but like I have hooded eyes too. But if you're worried about your shadows creasing or stuff like that, these won't do this because they're not the kind of formula that will like crack up and be all weird on your lids. Like some of the crazy multi-chromes and stuff like that, they sometimes don't wear the absolute best, but shadows like this is gonna wear a lot better. But for me, it's just a little bland compared to what I already have in my collection and that I know I love. But I still think that Game Beauty is just an exciting brand. I really like to see what they come out with, and I'm still excited to see what their next palette is going to be, because I think that their ideas are so good. I'm just waiting for like that perfect palette from them. The latest one they came out with was almost there, not quite. I'm still waiting for like the perfect palette from them, like color story wise and formula wise. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens next time. This one wasn't like a hit for me, but it also wasn't a fail. It just depends how you look at it. It just depends on your preferences. For me, this wasn't my perfect palette, but that is totally okay, because not all palettes need to be perfect for everybody, and they just won't be. Like, that's just how it is. Like, someone else is going down getting this palette and absolutely loving it, and they're going to love every single formula in this, but for me, just not great. So that's gonna be my thoughts, I guess. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you want to see some other first impression videos that I've done lately, here's my playlist, and if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.